Hi guys, I'm Ananya Pandey. If I had one wish for Earth, it would be to save endangered species, which are on the verge of extinction. Our planet is blessed to have so many diverse species and forms of life. Unfortunately, as a result of human race's unending exploitation, some of the most beautiful species of animals have already gotten extinct or are on the verge of extinction. Why? Because we have threatened their habitat. Planet Earth is as much theirs as it is ours. Deforestation, pollution, overpopulation, and animal cruelty are a few of the major reasons for it. We must all learn to coexist and be sensitive with our actions towards them. As we all grew up, we were all taught lessons of coexistence, kindness, and compassion in school. But putting it into execution is in our hands. So let's not forget about our fellow creatures whom we share our home with and make our planet a better place for them to live on.
Friends, that was Ananya Pandey. And as you heard, she was talking about taking care of our fellow creatures, the creatures who have as much right on this beautiful planet as we human beings. And she also talked about how we threaten the habitat of those birds and animals and countless other visible and invisible creatures by our mindless developmental activities. And as you know, she is absolutely right. Every time we cut a forest, we destroy the habitat of millions of creatures living there. And we have been doing this since past couple of hundreds of years. Till about 500 years back, the size of the tropical rainforest habitat on our planet Earth was about 16 million square kilometers. Unfortunately, today that size has shrunk to almost half. And the worst thing is, it is not a one-time loss. The loss is going on. The current rate of deforestation is 160,000 square kilometers per year. That's roughly equal to the combined area of Tamil Nadu and Kerala. And whenever a forest is uprooted or cleared, it literally destroys the local microecosystem. Millions of birds and animals and other life forms who support one another lose their home. And in virtually no time, that place becomes unable to support a thriving colony of birds, insects, and animals. This inability of a place to support sufficient life forms because of mindless destruction of forests and ecosystems located there is known as habitat destruction, and this is the topic of our discussion today. Habitat destruction is an environmental term, and it is also known as habitat loss or habitat reduction. And it occurs when natural habitats are no longer able to support the species or living organisms which are part of that particular habitat. This results in the displacement of the living organisms or in complete destruction of the biodiversity, which reduces the abundance of species on a global scale. The main reason for habitat destruction is human activity. Any human activity like harvesting natural resources, mining metals and minerals, drilling oil wells, running industries, dredging rivers, or clearing forests for agriculture, or reclaiming land for construction, any of these activities can become the reason for habitat destruction. Ceaseless growth in human population means that we need more and more new houses, more food and more clothing, and many more things for our daily life and sustenance. More food means we need more land to produce our crops. New houses can be built only when more land is available. In most cases, this extra land comes from clearing the forests or encroaching upon some natural habitat which supports a whole lot of living organisms. Loss of habitat is generally preceded by an initial habitat fragmentation. One of the worst modern day examples of habitat fragmentation and consequent habitat destruction is the deforestation of the Indonesian and Malaysian rainforests. Indonesian and Malay people have been clearing rainforests to harvest their valuable wood resources as well as to make way for palm plantations. Palm oil is in demand around the world as well as in our own country, and Indonesian and Malaysian people want to produce as much palm oil as possible. The most common mode of clearing the rainforests is by setting them on fire. This process has been going on since past 3 decades at a very fast clip. However, These fires have resulted in widespread loss of habitat for the native wildlife. And one of the biggest casualties among these have been the orangutans. Each palm plantation that destroys thousands of hectares of virgin rainforest in pursuit of massive profits also kills many orangutans. And because of this process, orangutans have lost over 80% of their habitat during past 20 years. Similarly, the habitat of giant panda has been destroyed in China. The panda's mountainous forests continue to be degraded by people harvesting bamboo, gathering firewood, and collecting medicinal herbs. Chinese mountains are home to thousands of plant species, and almost 75% of them are used in traditional Chinese medicine. As a result, thousands of Chinese people enter these forests on a daily basis to harvest these traditional plants. Many other people enter the forests to log the timber and fuel wood, or to clear the land for agriculture and for building infrastructure to meet the needs of the booming population. All this human activity degrades the forests, which in turn robs pandas of their precious habitat. Here, when we talk of giant panda or orangutans, we are not just talking about the steep fall in their numbers. We are also talking about a whole lot of destruction of plants and other organisms, all of which live and thrive together in that particular ecosystem. Habitat destruction, which is defined as the elimination or alteration of the conditions which are necessary for animals and plants to survive, not only impacts individual species but also the health of the global ecosystem. Habitat loss and habitat fragmentation cause grave threats to the survival of all the species. As we know by now, habitat loss is primarily caused by human activities. The clearing of land for farming, grazing, mining, drilling, and urbanization impact 80% of the global species who live in the forests. According to a study, the number of trees worldwide has decreased by 46% since the start of the civilization. And according to another study, even today, almost 15 billion trees are cut every year. This mindless cutting of trees not only destroys the home of wild animals, but it also reduces the abilities of the forest to provide the critical benefit of absorbing carbon, which helps to mitigate the effects of climate change. In our country, tigers are also feeling the pressure of the habitat loss. There was a time, almost a century back, when there were more than 40,000 tigers in our Indian forests. But population explosion, clearing of forests, wood smuggling, and construction of roads and highways have destroyed many natural tiger habitats. And as a result, today we have barely 2,000 tigers left with us. Unfortunately, the habitat destruction continues even today, in spite of the knowledge that we have today about the importance of such habitats. And as a result, even today, tigers are migrating from one area to another to escape the human beings and to have a peaceful corner for themselves. For example, during past couple of years, the tigers seen around Buxa and Manas tiger reserves in West Bengal have seen their habitat disturbed. And as a result, some of them have been found to be migrating all the way to Bhutan. And although Bhutan has lot of land covered with bamboo, it is not an ideal habitat for tigers. And yet, they are somehow trying to settle down there simply because their own natural habitat is no longer fit for them. Friends, across the world, rainforests are disappearing at an incredible rate. Every minute, an area the size of 20 football fields is destroyed. And every time a portion of the rainforest is destroyed, it fails to support the wild animals and other organisms living there. As a result, they die or disappear, which means a permanent loss for entire humanity. However, despite all the habitat loss that has already taken place, there is still hope. Studies have shown that by protecting just 50% of the land and oceans around the world, we can ensure survival of the plant and animal species living there. Unfortunately, today only 15% of the land and 7% of the oceans are protected. But this means that if we try hard, we can attain this goal and avoid further habitat destruction, which will make the whole world a much better place for our children and grandchildren. So friends, this was a brief introduction to habitat destruction. I hope this will inspire you to take steps towards habitat preservation and avoid things that lead to habitat destruction. In the next episode, we will discuss yet another topic important for our personal and professional growth. So please don't miss it. Until then, keep learning, keep sharpening your skills, and keep improving your life.